Hello and welcome to our webinar. I'd like to welcome our listeners around Australia. My name is Joe Tadara, Advisor Education Analyst at North. Today, we'll be talking about corporate actions on North Online. If you've joined us before, then you'll know that you can ask questions at any time throughout today's session, and that's via the left-hand side menu. Find that little chat icon there. So you can chat and ask questions, type them away, and we'll endeavour to get back to you upon the conclusion of today's session. If for any reason your audio drops out, please close down your browser and then reopen the session. And if you're still having technical difficulties, then this session, as always, is being recorded and it will be uploaded to North Online. So what I'll do is I'll just show you where to find that on North Online. I'll just jump on now. So on North Online, just across the top, looking for the support heading, head down to training videos, because training videos is where you're going to find small snippets of information in video format. You scroll down a little bit further, we've got webinar recordings. So we've got all of our previous sessions are uploaded to North Online, including this session, which will be in the next couple of days. So if you'd like, you can refer to this session again or get a colleague to take a bit of a look. So lots of information there. Also, privy to that support tab across the top, down to training resources, that's where you'll find step-by-step guides on most transactional things on North Online. And then we'd ask if you visit every now and then news and announcements on North Online, because that's where you're going to have pivotal and up-to-date information about various things on North Online that you would need to keep on top of for your clients. So visit that whenever you get a chance, news and announcements. So let's head back and get started for today's session. So we'll delve into what we're going to be talking about today, because we do have a lot to cover. So note that if you're a beginner and never used corporate actions on North Online before, or you might be a seasoned veteran, today's session will have something for everybody. So we're going to be discussing the fundamentals, the ins and outs of corporate actions, including some intricate details with hints and tips along the way. So I'm going to highlight what to look for, and I'm going to call out those pain points. And I've got that as one of our agenda items because we do have some pain points that we do want to talk about at length, and how to avoid errors and how to avoid traps where there could be some cause for delay in relation to corporate actions. So we'll talk about that. So of course, support material that's available to you after today's session, an overview of the corporate actions, including different types of actions and how we communicate those actions. And of course, as always, we're going to explore navigating North Online. So let's get started. So firstly, we're going to look at the support material that's available to you. So remember, as we spoke about, across the top with support on North Online down to training resources, that's where you're going to find those step-by-step guides on North Online. And then the training videos, well, you have those small videos, and this session will be uploaded under training. So we've also got to contact the North Service Centre, either chat, you can chat with a friendly North Service Centre consultant, experienced consultant is on our chat. So you can type away and ask any questions at any time. And anything that you want to ask via the telephone, you can ask via chat. So things like following up a case, following up where a withdrawal's at, or finding to seek some help on something that you're completing on North Online, chat with a consultant. Alternatively, you can, of course, still contact us at the North Service Centre on the number provided on your screen there. So let's talk about the different types of corporate actions, including a bit of an overview. So in terms of the purpose, one of the purposes are a return to profits for shareholders. So we're talking about cash dividends are a bit of a classic example of where a public company declares a dividend to be paid on each outstanding share. Bonuses are another case where the shareholder is rewarded. In a stricter sense, the bonus should not impact the share price, but in reality, in rare cases it does, and that results in an overall increase in value. Next up is influencing the share price, so a bit of a segue there. If the price of a stock is too high or too low, the liquidity of the stock can suffer. Let's talk about stock splits or reverse stock splits. Stock splits or reverse stock splits increase or decrease the number of outstanding shares to decrease or increase the stock price respectively. And then next we've got buybacks. So buybacks are another example of influencing that stock price, where a corporation buys back shares from the market in an attempt to reduce the number of outstanding shares, and that would thereby increase the price. Then we have some corporate restructuring. That's one of the biggest corporate actions that we do have out there. So corporate restructuring is in order to increase profitability. So some examples including mergers, where two companies that are competitive or complementary, they join forces, or even spin-offs, where a company breaks itself up in order to focus on its core competencies. So that's a bit of an overview of corporate actions. Let's talk about the different types of corporate actions, because there are actually three: voluntary, mandatory, and mandatory with choice. So let's start with that mandatory corporate action, where the action is an event initiated by the board of directors of the corporation that affects all the shareholders. Participation of the shareholders are mandatory for these corporate actions. An example of the mandatory corporate action is a company name change. The shareholder doesn't need to act to receive these adjusted shares. It's an automatic. Other examples of mandatory corporate actions include stock splits and consolidations, mergers, return of capital, bonus issues, asset code changes, which can happen, and spin-offs as well. So we talked about mandatory. Let's talk about voluntary corporate actions. So a voluntary corporate action is an action where the shareholders elect to participate in an action, and a response is required for the corporation to process the action. An example of the voluntary corporate action is a buyback tender offer. So a corporate action may request shareholders to tender their shares at a predetermined price. The shareholder may or may not participate in that tender offer. And shareholders send their responses to the corporation's agents, and the corporation will send the proceeds of that action to the shareholders who elect to participate. So other types of actions include things like IPOs, or initial public offerings, or non-renounceable and renounceable right issues, off-market and on-market buyback offers as well. So quite extensive. So I spoke about that at length. Let's talk about mandatory with choice corporate actions. So where shareholders are given a chance to choose amongst several options, with a default established should no response be received. So an example of this is a small sale facility where the company require election to retain shares, with the default position being the sale of shares by that. And others include takeover offers, compulsory acquisitions, restructure of company via delistings or relistings on another exchange as well. So voluntary corporate actions or mandatory with choice corporate actions. North will notify advisors. So we're talking about communicating these out to you guys. So with those types of actions, North will notify advisors. And also, this is important to note too, any of their clients who've been granted transactional authority on their accounts. So jumping on North Online, if you provide your client with transaction access, and what does that really mean? Transaction access is you've given them the ability to switch investments and update their investment instructions within their account. And that's all it really refers to. They still don't have the ability to withdraw on the account, but if you provided with that access, they have the ability to switch and effectively trade shares on their account. So North will not only notify advisors of these voluntary corporate actions, but also clients who've been granted that access. So what will happen is you'll actually receive an email alert, and that will be for a new corporate action, a cancelled corporate action, an amendment to an existing corporate action. So that email invites advisors and clients with transactional authority of corporate action activity and invites them to log into North Online. It says to you, log on to North Online, have a look at the corporate action and view the details of that respective corporate action. Important to note too, during today's session, please keep your questions coming through, but please note that don't want you frantically writing down some of this information that we'll have in the back end of today in terms of navigation if you haven't used North before, because I will be emailing everyone who attends the session with the detail that we're providing you with today. So don't want you scrambling to write it down. I will send it out to you upon the conclusion of today's session along with any questions and answers we get with today's session, because there might be some questions that you do forget to ask. Well, someone may have asked that on your behalf. So we'll get out to you some questions and answers along with that pack after today's session as well. So along with that communication for the mandatory corporate actions, North will attend to processing mandatory corporate actions on affected client accounts. However, no advance notification is currently provided by North. So there's your difference between the voluntary and the mandatory corporate actions. We're not going to tell you if there is a mandatory corporate action. So what does it look like? It kind of looks a little bit like this. So this is an email notification that goes out to advisors notifying the corporate action is available. So we've got the heading, the stock that it will refer to, and talks about that. It says that the voluntary action will affect your clients made on North Online. Proceed to corporate action search page on North Online to view the details and review the corporate action, submit the elections no later than a certain date. So it provides you with a snippet of that information. You should jump on North Online, which will show you in a few moments' time how to view that action and how to read about it and get the information that you need. And then an email to clients that have transactional access will look a little bit like this. Very, very similar to the email that goes out to advisors. Pretty much the same details that's listed just there. So now let's move on to navigating North Online. So if you haven't done it before, this is what you do. There's two actual ways of going about it. One is via the bulk transacting page on North Online and the heading just across the top down to corporate actions. And that's where you can do it as a bulk request, where you can do it for many clients to accept or decline a corporate action. Or alternatively, you can go into individual clients' accounts. We're talking about both of those. So let's focus on the first. So under bulk transacting across the top on North, hit the drop down, looking for corporate actions. Makes sense. We're going to hit straight into there. This is what the page will look like for you. So the search criteria allows the user to enter specific details to locate that action. So you've received that email alert talking about that voluntary corporate action. So how do you find it? So we're going in here, what we can do, you can search by the name, respond by security code, or you can just go by status. If there are multiple advisor codes listed within your practice, you can define it, or you could select all, whichever you would like. It is really important, and I've been given direction by our corporate actions team to let you know that you should, when you search by an all status. The easiest way is just go by all and hit search, because that allows the user to view open and amended actions, current, future, and also past. I'd say this is the best way to go about it. So say you've entered those details and you've found some corporate actions. So the search result confirms the description of the offer, the respond to date, and that's really important too, the respond to date, the status of it, and then it has a bit of a summary of your practice in terms of the number of eligible clients and decisions outstanding. So that's really important to see on your screen. These two columns here, really important, shows the number of eligible clients and decisions that are outstanding for it. So really good information there. So by clicking that little plus button here on the left-hand side, the respective action, you'll be able to expand it and reveal a bit of a synopsis of the issue, including the company PDS, the date published, security code, and then importantly, the brief description of it as well. So there's an example of what it will look like. Opens it up, gives you that brief description and a link to the important document that will talk about that action. So then all that's left really is to hit go. So go to that corporate action. And you'll notice there that we've got a summary of your clients that are eligible for that action. So it's got the client name, it lists their account number or account ID, the entitled number of units that they would have for it, the available units. And this is really the really great functionality too, is that it will give you the available cash as well. As a summary for all of your eligible clients, instead of going individually with individual accounts, you can find all of this in an easy to read summary of that action with the available cash, because all of the money to purchase the action will be from cash. There's the cash just there. Just confirming that available cash there. So if there is insufficient funds in cash, you won't be able to accept until funds are made available. So what do you need to do? So if your client here, Mr. Sam Sample, doesn't have enough money in cash to accept that offer, what you need to do is switch to cash. So switch whatever assets to cash to make the cash available for them, or have them make a contribution or deposit into their account to allow for sufficient funds in cash. Please note that if you are switching to cash, it is very, very important to have a look at your investment instructions, which are on page number 2 of your switch request. And for further information of this, we'll get you to go on to our previous webinar under our webinar recordings. We did a comprehensive session on switching investments. So have a bit of a look at that on one of our enhancements. And we call out specifically the investment instructions on the account. If you switch to cash, if the automatic buy setting is listed to investors per buy profile, well, it is descriptive. What's actually going to happen when you switch to cash? As soon as the money hits the cash account, it's going to automatically buy as per the automatic buy profile that's listed if you have the buy setting listed to investors per buy profile. So what does that mean? It means that the money has sold. There might be unnecessary buy and sell costs for managed funds, or there might be brokerage for any equities that you may have sold as a result of that. And then also will automatically buy. So then you've got that brokerage that applies again, buy and sell costs, and then you've got to sell it again in preparation to this corporate action. So time, effort, monetary impact, the client, obviously in the current environment, markets are fluctuating constantly, particularly this year. There could be an impact in terms of compensation applied. It's very important. If you are switching to cash, you want that money to stay there. So it's not above your minimum target, starts buying as per the buy profile. We don't want that to happen. Then you want the automatic buy setting listed to leave excess funds in cash. And what it effectively does, it turns off that automatic buy profile for any money that's in the cash account above the minimum or above the target cash balance. And more importantly to that, we spoke about that switching webinar that we did do. And also, please note that last week we conducted an investment instructions webinar. I asked you to refer to that, and there will be another webinar coming up as well on that. So make sure you do see that information. It's really important. So if there are insufficient funds in cash, in summary, you can switch to cash or get the client to make a contribution, of course. Once you've done that, you've made the election, you've either declined or accepted it, hit next. And next, we'll progress to the following page, to generating the record of advice document. You can then either elect to bulk generate all of those records of advices, or open individually as required to progress the application. So in summary, to review the account's automatic buy instructions, as we discussed, advisors seeking to input an election will be required to select from one of the available alternatives under the respective offer for the clients seeking to make that election. This may be done via that bulk election, as we spoke about walking through just before. Before clients nominate the same alternative individually, or individually if clients have different election requirements, it might be easier to do that individually, which we'll talk about in a couple of moments' time as well. So the statement will appear online in statements and correspondence. So once you've done it, it'll appear individually on your client's account under statements and correspondence for it. So for clients declining an offer, our corporate actions team, as a recommendation, has said that you should take no action, as this can't be changed to accept in the future. So if you go onto North and your client has declined it and you want to decline it on North Online, what they're saying, our team, is that not to decline it, just do nothing, no action required. The reason for it is you can't change it once you've declined it. So if the client changes their mind, you're unable to change it in the future, and the record will be created, and it's not cleared until the end of that corporate action. And this is a really important call out, and it's a major pain point for advisors and support staff. And the reason that I do say that is that if it has not cleared and you've elected to decline that action and it hasn't cleared, it's going to inhibit you from completing some transactions, including processing a full withdrawal request. So if you submitted a full withdrawal request at this time, you've declined the corporate action, you submitted a full withdrawal, the withdrawal will only complete until what's called pending transactions on the account has completed. So not only fund manager confirmation in terms of a buy or sell from the account, but also things like corporate actions as well. And the same is the case when we're talking about account transfers as well. So the account transfer, you've got the ability to submit an account transfer on Northern, but if you've gone in there and declined a corporate action, it will not be cleared until the end of that corporate action. So it means that the transfer across to the from this destination account to the other account won't be complete until that action can complete. So a couple of pain points that do exist out there, and we get lots of calls at the North Service Centre saying, why has my redemption for my client or the account transfer for the client not completed? I've submitted it, why hasn't it happened? And a lot of the cases, well, a lot of them is due to fund manager confirmation at the time, which is another reason for delay, but it can be because you've declined a corporate action and it doesn't clear until the end of that action. So spoken about bulk transacting, and if you do it that way, if you go by bulk transacting, you can still, if you want to, just do it for one client if you wanted to. Or alternatively, you can jump into the client's account on North Online, so choose their desired account, hit Manage Investments across the top, head down to Corporate Actions. So once you're down there in Corporate Actions, you can then search for that corporate action similarly to that bulk. So you can put in the name, respond by the security code, or alternatively, just select all and hit search. Really easy. So then just below, you'll find those search results. So you've got a summary of those actions that are currently there. These ones are closed, but of course, in real scenario, you might be open corporate actions. So all you have to do then is select go for that desired action. Once you've done that, the page will look a little bit like this. So individually for this client, of course, and their client, the account, you've got things like available cash. So there's the available cash just there. It shows how much is available. And of course, if there's insufficient funds in cash, do that switch. Remember to check your investment instructions on the account too. And then you've got entitled and available units. There we go. And then we've got the instructions for it. So sell shares, decline, whatever it might be. And then you make that election. So sell shares or decline, depending on that corporate action. So they can differ depending on the action. It might be asked to sell or decline an offer, or select various units for it. So really easy. Once you've done that, you would then just select next, of course, once you've done that, to the record of advice. And remember, as we spoke about, a decline record will be created and you can't make that change. So it won't be cleared until the end of the corporate action. So that may impede future activity on the account. So things like account transfers or full redemption requests as well. So we've spoken about a couple of pain points. Let's go at length a little bit about those pain points. So one of the questions that we do get constantly at the North Service Centre, and our corporate actions team get this a lot, I'm not able to do an account transfer while the corporate action is in progress. So we spoke about that. That's because the action is currently in progress on one of the investments held within the account, and that account transfer won't complete until the action is completed. Corporate action is valid if it's valid for an account in which the action was accrued. If assets are transferred to a new account, the offer can't be accepted. So that's really important call out too. So before you accept or decline an offer, so say you're going to accept it, you've completed an account transfer because you want to get that done with your client's account. And most common is a transfer from super pension or wherever you might be going, or to investment account to another investment account, whatever it might be. If you do that, then the action is valid for the account in which it was accrued. So by doing that, the offer therefore after that cannot be accepted. Next question is, I'm not able to do full withdrawals while the corporate action's in progress. And we spoke about that too. Same kind of deal as account transfers. As it's unresolved, the full redemption's been requested at that time, but it can't be completed until the action has been completed. So it's actually really important to note for that last point for withdrawal, if it's going to be a full withdrawal and you're going to be declining the offer, really simple solution, don't decline it. Go ahead and proceed with your full redemption request. Corporate action shares are appearing in an old account since transfer. What do? Corporate actions team will undertake completed processing upon which an advisor may transfer an asset forward. If an investment is split and then one of the split's assets are transferred to another account, which can happen. I'm thinking about in the scenario of last year, it could have been the year before with Wesfarmers and Coles, which was an example of that. It's transferred to the other account, so you might have left one in one account, transferred one to the other account. Tax reporting is affected as a result of this, so due to the cost base reset. So there's your example on the screen there, Wesfarmers and Coles corporate action. My client doesn't have sufficient funds in cash, and we spoke about that before. Switch it to cash, and don't forget to review those investment instructions on the account. A corporate action is not appearing on my client's account. Why and what can I do? So usually the GIC ruling has not been received, and the corporate action has not been released on North Online, and that's usually the case. Or the offer is not open on the ASX. Might have got window of it, read it in the financial review, but it's not open. Or the account holdings were not registered at the time of the date of eligibility of that corporate action as well. So any questions on this, we'd ask that if you can, contact corporate actions team for further information. So how do you get hold of them? They do have an email address, but alternatively, you could call the North Service Centre, and we'll get you through to a member of our experienced and friendly corporate actions team for further information as well. So lots of information on navigating North Online, background on corporate actions itself. What about managing all of this at a practice level? How do you go about doing that? So there's a few ways that you can do it. One is event alerts. With event alerts, we've got corporate actions unit settled as weekly. You can change it. So go in there to subscribe to it. How do you get there? Well, you go access down to event alert management. And this is where you'll find where you've got the corporate actions, or most transactional things on Northline will have an event alert for. I'm thinking things like investment instructions, contributions coming into an account, effectively great way to manage at a practice level. You might have end of financial year looming, and you want to stay on top of client contributions that you've got within your practice. How do you do that? Well, event alerts is a really great way of that. We've also got reporting as well for it. So if you're an advisor and you subscribe to Event Alert, then you'll receive an event notification to your registered email address. Where if you're a support staff member out there, which I know that many of you are out there, if you subscribe to a event alert, then you will receive the event alert and to your registered email address, and the advisor will also receive an event alert to their registered email address, so both as well. So you found the corporate action, you subscribe to it, you can then choose your frequency as well. So great way to manage at a practice level. So please keep your questions coming through. We've had a few. We'll endeavour to keep this webinar open for a few more minutes to make sure you get your questions in. What we'll do is upon the conclusion of today's session, we'll email everyone out there with a pack of what we've run through today. I'll have a copy of this webinar up onto North Online under those training videos. So you can refer to this again or refer a colleague to this information if they've missed today's session, including all the questions that you asked along with their answers, so everyone has all the information at hand. So we're recording, of course, and upload this in a few days. We'd ask that you stay tuned to North Online news and announcements for upcoming webinars and pivotal information as it comes to hand. And I'd like to thank you very much for your attendance today. Thanks so much. We look forward to seeing you all again in our next webinar. From me, Joe Todaro at North. We'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Hope you have a great day.